Welcome everybody to Mud Flood was Armageddon. The Mud Flood was Armageddon. Don't let them tell you anything else unless they're willing to debate you in a fair and honest way. Phobia, aphobia, almost as soon. Uh, some people, it seems, have found rest in fear, is what I'm trying to get to. Without something to worry about, a new angle on it. Every day, the end is near for those with a go bag and a gun. They have provided fake fear to focus on or to forget that people should be fearing God Most High, their top priority every day. Are they disappointing him? Fear God until they, DIE, not DEI like we are now. I know why we try, why I try. It is because God has commanded, and I have made a vow. And those should be taken very seriously. Going to be switching to the share screen thing. Couple disclaimers to go over before you realize, wow, this is everything I already know. Neuralink is a word. Neuralink. 2016, Elon Musk did it. Our brain computer interface translates neural signals into actions. Way to go, Elon Musk. Neuralink. There it is, right there. He did it. Somehow, first publicly reported in March 2017. They had to keep it a secret. Devil. I mean, I know the 101 Dalmatians thing, right? Oh, devil. It's there. Anyway, that. Is this real? Is this what they put out with everything we found out about how bad the cops are? These two guys were going to make a show about Karen Reed and how the cops, the judge, and everybody else was in a conspiracy. They started out exposing how the justice system finally caught him. And then they went into, this is my morning. I saw this morning.
Probably, I want to say, I think they said on record it was like 38 minutes from the time we came into Mandalay Bay and got up to the room and made entry. It was like 38 minutes, 40 minutes.
That's a long
So
time.
it was a little bit, but he had stopped shooting. And then, so our goal was to bring his attention to us. So start shooting at us.
Oh my.
So the cops in the world are putting out, oh, we are the heroes. I mean, there are some bad ones out there. This show was about Boston, from top to bottom, the whole state, bad. And yet here's these two guys, got the Virgin Mary here. Who knows what their tattoos talk about? And he's saying, I was ready to sacrifice my life for you.
My God.
Safe people, right? Right? If you're going to shoot at somebody, shoot at us, because at least we can shoot back, right? So that was our goal. And then obviously to get in there and stop them.
But he took the coward's way out.
He took the coward's way out.
The authorities have confirmed now that he shot himself. They did not kill him after breaching and getting inside the hotel room.
What's going through your mind in a situation like that? Are you just pure adrenaline in the zone?
No, I've learned to control my adrenaline.
It's business.
It's business.
It's
yeah.
business.
I was pissed. I was pissed that this guy is killing all these innocent people for no reason.
We have an active shooter. We have an active shooter inside the fairgrounds.
Inside the fairgrounds. Tales of running gun battles. This is one of the major cover-ups, and they're helping to perpetuate it by this good cop has a show. You know, sure, he's talking bad about some other systematic, systemic infection in the state of Massachusetts. There's no doubt it's everywhere. This story is a week's worth of study on its own, but he's the guy who saved the day, was ready to kill this. The music helps. They know what they're doing. That's drama.
Have we come right in? 169 Sammy Dip shot. What's that? Sammy, coming from upstairs. It's Mandalay Bay. Upstairs, Mandalay Bay, halfway up. I see the shots coming from Mandalay Bay. Halfway up.
Not from inside the fairground.
It's fireworks! It's fireworks! Stop! Hold your back! Go that way! Get out of here! There's gunshots coming from over there! Go that way! Go that way!
Go back to towards the Mandalay Bay.
I can get my head. Go that way! Go that way! Go that way!
Is that one guy shooting out of a window?
Hey, they're shooting right at us, guys. Everybody stay down. Stay down. Where's it at?
He looks ready to go. He looks like that kid from Wisconsin with the AR-15. Remember that? That was something to fear. She's got everybody's blood on her.
And every time like a group would get up to try to run away, they just start shooting again, and it just kept going on and on.
Run!
It's like it had to be that much. They were, people dropping at the same time in different groups.
A lot of dead bodies, a lot of people were just piling on top of whoever, even if they're bleeding or not, just to stay down. So I know I have a lot of people's blood on me right now.
Yeah, I'm going to end him when I find him. I'm going to end him. There's not going to be no taken into custody. You just shot like 500 people. I'm sorry, but I am ending you. Period.
Okay, so you know how it turned out, but this also is the guy, like the guy from some cops end up where the action is, like the police chief from Maui ended up in Los Angeles. This guy
get there and handle business, because the only thing that stops a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun.
Right.
If the good guys don't step up and stop him, who's going?
Yeah.
No one.
Concert.
Yeah, he's a good dude.
Yeah, this cop was at the concert. He got shot. For all we know, crazier things that had happened, that it was all to take him out. There's been some, if they are good cops, that end up committing suicide, being shot 14 times and then stabbed and having their neck cut. Was that Oklahoma City cop like that? Something.
He died protecting people.
He's a hero.
Yeah.
Like right after October 1st, there was another active shooter, right? In our area, my area, at the Ross, dressed for less. Security guard went crazy, started shooting at everybody in there. Who goes? Me.
Are you serious?
Me and him have a gunfight.
What a small world. He didn't get to kill the other guy. So maybe they rewarded him. This is just.
You can watch that on video.
Good evening, and thank you so much for joining us here at 6 o'clock. I'm Sasha
Okay,
Blanca.
is that the Betty Rubble Flintstones dress style? All you need is some pearls, girl, and you're dressed like a cave woman.
Community members are speaking out about the importance of emergency plans after a security guard opened fire at Ross yesterday.
Police say this started as an altercation between Mahmoud and a female manager at the Ross store. We learned that they were arguing about a customer who left their shopping cart by the front entrance. Now police say Mahmoud got angry because the shopping cart was left there. The manager told him over their radio system to stop complaining. Police said things escalated and Mahmoud said,
Who believes that's a real picture, that's not a made up picture of Mahmoud with the eyeshadow, the whole JD Vance manscaping thing? What? You dare to talk to me over the radio? I'm going to go get a gun and kill you.
their radio system to stop complaining. Police said things escalated and Mahmoud said, quote, "I'll kill you." He then left the store, got a handgun, came back and fired 16 rounds. Many of them were aimed at the manager as she was running through the store. The body camera footage from the officer shows that as soon as he
And
got
so
out,
there's the hero cop. He shows up, gets out of his car. The perpetrator, maybe MK Ultra, starts shooting and he gets his reward.
his car, he was under fire from Mahmoud. The officer fired a total of 5 rounds, hitting Mahmoud once. Now all this happened in a busy shopping center, and police say they're thankful all the shoppers were unharmed.
Taking some
I just don't trust. I have trust issues. People are allowed to legally lie to me, so how can I not? That's not a phobia.
But everybody's got to not be in their silos of like, and I don't mean people, your fans or whatever. I mean, people, you never did. I never seen you be like this, but I know, I just did Jesse Michaels, his podcast, UFO podcast.
No, I mean, I've heard of him, but
so I like that dude, but I
Yeah.
did want to see what his deal is. I want to see because he knows Peter Thiel. He knows fucking Peter Thiel. And so I'm going to investigate that shit. Okay.
yeah.
Also, I don't know if I can say, I'll tell you a thing I heard, and I don't know how to say this without potentially causing a problem. I think Peter Thiel's boyfriend.
Okay, so this is a Jewish new neoconservative, and I believe him. I think that he's on to what he's smelling, what The Rock is selling. This guy knew Control Alt History. They came out the gate. They know everything, and now they've hooked up within a year.
Sandusky thing, and man, that thing is like way bigger than just one dude who, coached football and was with a bunch of kids. That there are so many links to
That's the Penn State where a guy for decades trafficked children through a nonprofit charity. Joe Paterno, Penn State, Nittany Lions. Everybody knew about it, but then finally one coach said, "What are you doing raping that boy in the shower?"
other people and some mysterious deaths. And I mean, I remember when that happened. I didn't realize just how massive that was. Oh. Kurt, what's up?
Man, the up on here, but Elon
Yeah.
has a Mormon right-hand man who's around him at all times.
So in this show, Kurt, who is a comedian, tries to humorously, he blames the Mormons, the Freemasons, the Rosicrucians, and the modern, spin-offs from Aleister Crowley and Theosophy, Anton LaVey et al., the people I met in Colorado Springs when I was tracking down how in the world would my wife get swept up into a 50 Shades of Grey mentality? Well, now I know. They did it.
I might have to take off this judge wig. It is too hot. There's something to that because people that have been victimized have been they've been altered. When you do it young to someone, that splits them.
Yeah.
So
totally.
I don't know anybody out there. If you're like a nerd who was just friends with a girl who was like kind of a slut and had tattoos, right? And she only bangs losers. And
But that's not the girls today. All you girls with tattoos, don't pay any attention. Well, I don't know.
you're her friend and she doesn't see, but you know the deal, right?
So they're going to talk about the girl, she wrote the book. Everybody knows Bob Hope and these guys for years. It's all tied
Bouncy, but
together.
it's the same difference.
Yeah.
And it's that international group, and that's NATO, and that's all those scumbags like Kissinger and all them.
Yeah.
German existentialists. That's such a great way to put it. That's not occult or UFOs, right? But it really sums them up really well and explains their behaviors.
Yeah. Well, going back to hypnotism, I did that video on Candy Jones.
Dude, I texted you when I saw it because I've been reading the Fritz Springmeier books. Well, I have to. They're hard to get. They're hard to get, but people post them on YouTube. They don't have very many views. You can find them if you want to find them.
Yeah.
So the world is catching on, and they know it's the Freemasons, the Rosicrucians,
and Trump is now doing the same thing.
Mormons.
We cannot make deals with the lizard people. I'm not saying they're literally lizard people, okay?
Yeah.
But the people that think like it's a dangerous world and you got to do whatever it takes to get ahead and survive, that's a lizard fucking person. Get it?
Yeah.
Ambitious Whammon is a lizard. Ben Shapiro, everybody in government. When fucking Kash Patel doesn't tell you the truth because he has to protect national security, he's a lizard for that.
Yeah.
That's all there is to it. Because there's right and wrong, dude. It's not complicated. When they
documentary.
Look, here, I'll just get right to the point of my cuckoo hypothesis is that interdimensional trillionaires, okay, it's an imperfect term, but these are people that were so rich. Once you get super rich and you to the point that you print the money, you invent the money.
Yeah.
Then what do you do to dominate because money doesn't matter? Well, then secrets are the currency and you collect secrets. Or if you're Jeffrey Epstein, you make a little factory that produces secrets as currency, right?
Yeah.
He created secret currencies against the company.
Didn't we kind of live that? I have. I've lived it as an adult now for 50 years.
Even though I'm a Jew and the Nazis slaughtered. You know what? I don't care about none of them Jews that got murdered. They're a human sacrifice for the state of Israel. Because really, I'm a Frankist, which is like a satanic Jew that hates Jews more than dippy Catholics like Nick Fuentes. Nick Fuentes, a dipshit operative. You ever see him? That's still
no, I haven't actually.
You never heard of him? He went on Candace Owen recently.
Oh,
Sounded like a fucking idiot.
Really?
I don't buy that kid. That kid was urging people in the Capitol on January. First of all, even if
he was in the Capitol.
Oh yeah, with the undercover. I've seen video. There's been played, and Kino Casino, shout out to them, played the video. Kino Casino watches his shitbag stream and mocks it. So that's where you can see what he is very quickly. He's a human fart who's against his will being forced to go stand next to people and stink them up. So the idea of America, and they go, Epstein didn't kill himself. These assholes in power go out of, why don't they just like lie outright and not even try to tell half truths? And why do they try to do this through the law at all? Because the Luciferian system is highly legalistic. And they believe like if they do something illegal against natural law, is what they call it in the old religion. That's what the real thing is. The real thing's called the old religion. People that follow this stuff, they don't call it Satanism. They call it the old religion.
Okay.
Okay. And there's something legal where I liken it to being, like venture capitalists. You know how they bet ahead of time on like a Grand Theft Auto's coming out, how much. So if you're like, hey, I'll invest now while the game comes out, like, no, stupid. They've already made bets to know how much profit there's going to be like 5 years before the fucking thing came out.
Oh, yeah.
Well, let's see what this is. Oh, you don't have it ad free. I get ad free YouTube so I can enjoy control of history without interruption.
No, I don't have it. I need to get it.
Oh, this is great. The opening of when he was shooting and he puts on socks. Let's see. He had put on socks here and now he's.
Oh, God.
Look at that. He wasn't wearing socks when he first went in. He put them in to run away on Trump's marble hotel floors.
So anyway, what?
Anyone? Why is that a thing still? Why is anyone in America watching princess shit on the Disney Channel when we had a revolution about that? Anyone?
Yeah.
Well, my daughter likes it. Yeah, Disney programs your kids with retard shit. Don't worry about the trans stuff. It always sucked. Your generation, what you like, that sucked ass too. And you got programmed with it by a filthy Rosicrucian named Walt Disney, who is in on it. And they did MK Ultra at Disneyland. That's a.
If you're going to study this objectively, you're going to blame the Freemasons, the Rosicrucians, and the Roman Catholic Church. They did it.
fucking fact. They've disclosed it. No one looked.
They had the tunnels. Yeah. They had the underground
McMartin
tunnels.
Preschool was real. Put on Michael Aquino. Show Michael Aquino.
Oh, yeah.
Let's just look at his dumb face real quick. And keep in mind, this is a colonel in good standing in the army.
So this is yesterday, and Kurt Mesker is trying to act like the judge and jury of Zion associated with them. And this is the guy that somehow has released everything, shown it all. But they don't go all the way with Christ, and that's where you come in.
I don't know what that
Who-
is.
he didn't invent psyops, but I think he might have invented the term.
Oh, shit.
And he put out the Mind War document about exactly what they did to us. Vanity Fair is the reason America's interested in music. That's not true. That's what the media is used for. I didn't know it's because of Vanity Fair. That's interesting. I'm sorry, my eyes suck and I can barely read you guys' comments, but I'm seeing a bunch of interesting shit pop up.
I know. I'm like, keep missing, like,
The royal family is related to Dracula and Hercules. Dude, that's a great point. Whoever said that. And they also claim lineage to Muhammad.
Who was fake?
I don't think King Charles really is related to Muhammad. Maybe Dracula, but the reason they're doing this because they're a gang. They're a drug cartel nation originally.
The guy was at the Presidio in San Francisco. They were doing that McMartin preschool thing. These guys did it. It's all real.
England. It's like if the drug cartels took over the world.
So we got him naming the Rosicrucians. You know, it gets a little more interesting here.
Ceremony where they poured some shit into Michael's ear as a kid, and Jay Parker from Arden, Delaware, he had the same thing happen. He talks about the same thing.
whoa.
And he said he could see entities in the liquid. Now there's a little kid. Kids don't have the brainwave to discern reality before the age of 6 or 5 sometimes. And so that's why it's so important to do this shit to kids, because they don't have like a limiter on their imagination and shit yet until you go to the Prussian kindergarten school to get society drummed into your head.
Yeah.
And they want to harness that at all times. They want to link us all together like a peer-to-peer server.
They are dropping bombs, people.
He knows Peter Thiel. He knows fucking Peter Thiel. And so I'm gonna investigate that shit. Okay.
Yeah.
Also, I don't know if I can say. I'll tell you a thing I heard, and I don't know. I gotta say this without potentially causing a problem. I think Peter Thiel's boyfriend, the Instagram model, and the times line up. I think he was murdered, and I think it was the Pizzagate people involved with it, and I have very good reason for thinking that. But I don't want to say. I'll tell you off here, but the person who told me, I'm like, that sincerely want to fight for freedom. They're not bad people. They're good people that you got to turn into killers. You think the people in charge don't think of them as chumps? Well, they do, but they don't call them chumps. They call them dogs. You don't have chump tags as a soldier, right? You got dog tags because they train you to be a fucking dog. It's great honor because the rest of you are cows. You might get promoted to dog if you join the military. Oh, no kidding. So the Mormons fought the feds, and I got good news for you. They joined up with them eventually.
Yeah, because they were all Freemasons and it was all a big fake. They were running and genociding the Native Americans. And then finally, it's always been the horniness that brought them down, the Freemasons. The polygamy was not a part of their original plan, but he was such a horn dog. He had 32 girls, children to other married women that he was banging, and they had to try to make it legal for their plan to keep working.
And in the movie Inherent Vice, that's a joke. Thomas Pynchon, the author, touches on this a lot. That how deep the Mormons are in Fed shit. Yeah. The black eye is a device being fitted. That's interesting. I've heard multiple things about what it is, but that's quite interesting. Maybe.
Yeah.
I've heard, dude, so many stories of what it is where I don't know which one is right. But I'll tell you something. The crazy Donald Marshall story
Yeah,
that maybe you think is crazy. I would go back and look at it again.
yeah. No, it's
Because I've heard some things confirming it, and you have to understand. People talk about past lives, but there's no such thing as that, dude. But there probably is splitting your consciousness into several people at once in space time. There probably is that if they have this tech.
yeah.
De Niro owns, yeah, and I bet you De Niro, because he is a hollowed out moron. Okay, De Niro's a fuckwit, so I doubt he owns them. He's probably another puppet. De Niro's a dumb shit, and he's probably controlled. And guess what? Go see Jamie Deluxe's stuff about De Niro, because
Yeah, there's no heroes. So let's just leave that alone for a while because it's not going anywhere. Let's look at the Great Plains Shelter Belt. The Great Plains Shelter Belt began in 1934 because there is human-made climate change, and it was what caused the Dust Bowl, where they plowed up 500 million acres and tore up the prairie, and it ruined everything. So then they had to fix it by planting trees from Canada to Texas. From Canada to Texas. Because they made the mistake and caused the Dust Bowl. Maybe we'll look at some of that video later, but they had something where there was a great plan for the transformation of nature. As soon as Stalin took over in the second half, after World War II, they got right on the bandwagon of saying, man, we've got to transform nature. As the Bolsheviks probably took it to the United Nations and they said, let's do a network of irrigation canals. Were they really? Or how much of another big reset was it? So we got the United States, Russia, China, Great Wall. Don't tell me the project has historical precedents dating back to before the Common Era. So they're only continuing it now that they're in the money and the sandstorms are over. They know how to fix it now. Massive reforestation starting in the 70s. Wow, okay. Way to go, China. Anybody else? Africa, Green Wall, because now there's a big desert in the Africa. That's crazy. They should start a plan to grow a forest there. Oh, they did? Finally, they're going to fix it up, man. The idea is from the 50s, but maybe they weren't ready for it because they didn't know nothing about no flat earth nation golden age past, having to figure it out so that we could rightly divide the word of truth. That's a lot of green great walls. The Last Man Club is just one of those things that after the Dust Bowl, they used Freemasons, Rosicrucians to convince the people that were in the Dust Bowl, no, stay around here. Don't go away. We'll find some other way. We'll make it pay for you. And of course, they got the oil a few years later. Once they saved the day, the Last Man Club, I think, was planned. I couldn't figure out this guy's name here. So I looked it up. I think it's pronounced Kylie or Kyle, not Kill E. Leonard Kyle. So I looked it up. It says there's a long history of brain-computer interfaces and doctors using electrodes to implant control patients' brains. Yikes. Wow. And when you just type in his name alone, it says there's a lot of, they don't even know if he gave his consent. You know, the chronology of Leonard Kyle's life intertwined with key events in neuroscience, lobotomies, and the limbic system. Wow. He may have been misdiagnosed by CIA people, Vernon Mark and Frank Irvin, as having a form of epilepsy. There some that say he was violent and they had to do it. There are others that say he had a bunch of very expensive patents that somehow the land Polaroid camera people, the CIA, anyway, they think he got killed and tortured because they wanted his money and they couldn't do it.
Experiments with mind control. In 1978, former Department of State officer John Marks published the explosive book The Search for the Manchurian Candidate, which detailed the long history of CIA and government mind experiments.
So don't only blame the United States. All those other big countries that had reforestation things, they're in on it also. Everybody that knows they faked the bomb so that you would have faux phobia. What? I used that word.
In the book, he covers how Edwin Land, in addition to founding Polaroid, was also the head of an organization named the Scientific Engineering Institute in Boston. The SEI was a very important wartime contractor for the government. They developed radar technology for satellites and reconnaissance photography equipment for U-2 spy planes. But in the search for the Manchurian Candidate, Marx claims the SCI was also used by the CIA as a cover organization for some of their more advanced brain implant and mind control research. So if Edwin Land's SCI was involved in brain implant research and Kyle got a brain implant that ruined his life after working with Land on the Polaroid Land Instant camera, it's an interesting connection. Some have even wondered if Kyle was targeted because of the many lucrative patents he held for the Polaroid camera, which could have been worth tens of millions of dollars. In other words, Kyle wasn't some random patient who had a medical experiment gone wrong. Instead, some very powerful people targeted him because they wanted to gain control of his patents. Doctors Mark and Irvin, who performed Kyle's surgery, were also connected to the CIA, according to Kyle's mother, who claimed this during the trial. Others have claimed this as well, and the two doctors had a number of suspicious connections, including individuals in the Office of Naval Research and the government's MK-Ultra brainwashing program. So there's definitely some interesting connections in Leonard Kyle's case. They could be just a bunch of coincidences, but if they are, they're definitely some curious coincidences, and brain implants to control the human mind. All the way back in the 1950s, Delgado was implanting devices in the brains of monkeys and cats and later humans. He demonstrated you could manipulate a person's emotions by delivering an electric shock to a specific area of a patient's brain. Depending on the area of the brain hit by the shock, a patient could be turned from happy to sad to scared to violently angry with the press of a button. Delgado famously demonstrated just how powerful his technology was by hooking up electrodes to a bull's brain. He then stood in the path of the charging bull and stopped it dead in its tracks with a jolt of electricity from a remote control device. There is so much more on Dr. Delgado's experiments and his vision for humanity. Frank Irvin. Kyle suspected that his wife was having an affair and he would constantly lose his temper and fly into violent rages over the affair, and a psychiatrist referred him to these two doctors for neurological tests. Mark and Irwin were very close associates of Dr. Delgado, and they were heavily involved in brain implant surgery as well. There's some controversy over what happened after Kyle began seeing.
There's not any controversy in my mind. This guy got set up and they took his money. Where's the money?
1,400. Let's see, 10,000. Then this one from 1500. The curious thing is that they put something green there in the area where Kivira is on maps from 1500, 1600. Also, certain maps from 1700 placed a city called Fusang there, which had something to do with China, because it always said Fusang, China. Here is Russia. Great Turk, Turkey, Malta. So, what do you think? 1711 and this one from 1783, a long time later. Fall of Pugish. A Cossack with an insurrection between 1773, 1775. Well, this atlas is like 15 to 20 years later. Of the Pugishay insurrection and the independence of the United States. War of Independence, a military conflict between the British colonies and America. Hey, what year was it? Something tells me you're from Guadalajara. Well, around there, around there, around there. My parents' origins are very close to Guadalajara. Between 1775 and 1781, and the atlas is from 83 and 1783. This one rightfully contains the American flag only 3 years later and in fact appears very close to Tartary. But I would like to see how the world is configured according to the maps that the wiki offers us. I have one saved here. Let's see, here's one from 1815, no, an older one. 1783, right? This one from 1700 is better. This was supposedly the layout in 1700. Funny thing, from the north of Mexico everything is blank. Who occupies that area? We see that the French are occupying it just a little bit after the 13 English colonies. Who occupies those blank areas?
There's nobody in Australia.
Is how they tried to make Northern America disappear. And the part of Tartary, check out Russia there. It still hasn't expanded to Siberia and they simply made it disappear. The Chinese Empire is the Qing dynasty itself, which is actually over India and all these countries, Thailand, Vietnam, Cambodia, Laos, the Ottoman Empire, you can see it over there.
Look at the United States. You got nothing.
Phantom. Okay, because if you remember the Catalan...
Yeah. These are things you already know. I'm only reminding you of a few things.
Terminal Man is based on the case of one of their patients. His name was Leonard Kyle. And this Leonard Kyle had a story nearly identical to Harry Benson in the movie. In real life, Leonard Kyle, he had this really horrible temper. He thought his wife was cheating on him.
So they say.
Swings that he suffers from. And this brain implant.
This actually, I read this book when I was still in high school. They pressed this one part of his brain and said, what do you anything different? He goes, yeah, something smells like pig shit and turpentine. And that was just very racy for somebody with, I might have been a freshman or something, whenever this was. Will be easy to track it down, that's for sure.
That he gets basically delivers an electrical shock to a certain part of his brain that like stimulates his brain and calms him down when he enters into these, violent rages. So he gets the brain implant in the movie and the surgery does not have the intended effect. And he escapes from the hospital and he decides to kill the doctors who operated on him. And this whole story that the Terminal Man is based on is one of the most interesting true stories from recent memory. It's a really fascinating case. And interestingly, the term tinfoil hat comes from the story that the Terminal Man is based on. So the Terminal Man was initially a book written by Michael Crichton. Before Michael Crichton was an author, he was a doctor. And when he was a med student, he studied at a Boston hospital with these two doctors, Vernon Mark and Frank Irwin. And the Terminal Man is based on the case of one of their patients. His name was Leonard Kyle. And this Leonard Kyle had a story nearly identical to Harry Benson in the movie. In real life, Leonard Kyle, he had this really horrible temper. He thought his wife was cheating on him.
Well, we heard
really
this part.
Paranoid, and he was told to go see these two on. And he would even make like appearances in court, apparently wearing this tinfoil hat. And everyone just thought he was totally crazy and totally insane because he's this guy just walking around with a tinfoil hat. And that's where the term tinfoil hat comes from. That's where it became popularized. Now, if you Google, like, where does the term tinfoil hat come from, or you ask AI or whatever, it's going to tell you that there was some random comic book back in the 1920s where, like, the hero of the story was worried about like being controlled by a mind control ray that the bad guy had. And so the hero in the story wrapped his head in tinfoil, and AI or Google will tell you that's where the term comes from. But that has nothing to do with like tinfoil hat being associated with being crazy. People didn't use the term tinfoil hat after this random comic came out in the 1920s. The reason the whole term tinfoil hat became associated with, you know, referring to people who are crazy, it's because of this some people are worried about how much control someone could have over you if you do have, say, like a Neuralink device in your brain and it's hacked or it's able to be controlled by someone else. And interestingly, people back in the 1970s had those same concerns. This article from back then about these brain implants, I'll just read it off. It says, there is a haunting fear that men may be exposed to loss of their free will and thus become slaves, perhaps, to an increasingly authoritarian state. So that's, you know, a lot of the fears that people express about Neuralink.
So the Lord had prepared for me that video. It's today. We've got the rest of our lives to decide who we're going to be afraid of. That's what you know so far. I encourage fear of the Most High God, Messiah, Creator, Lord Jesus Christ. This is a flat earth nation. The golden age has passed because the mud flood was Armageddon. They added 1,000 years of history to try to disguise that the golden age is past. After the golden age, there are the two angels that put in their sickles and reap. One for good, one for bad. That leaves us with our orphan trained brains, line upon line, precept upon precept, having figured it out. And this is what we know so far. Me and my friends are never going to tell you anything else. Why would we? We're trying to prove we have your best interest at heart and answer the call. Amen. Hallelujah. Aho. Aloha. Arrivederci. Ciao. Sayonara. Auf Wiedersehen. Nakame. That's just some of the ways I like to say goodbye.